Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Martin Luther King, Jr. Chapter 1. Casualties of War. Ophelia stands atop a pile of rubble covered in tall grass above the once chaotic battlefield. Below her rests the remains of the mangled dead and shattered machines. There would be a nice breeze today if it were not for the billowing, acrid black smoke of war that occasionally blots out the warm spring sun. I know she hears my approach. She's just as aware of my footsteps as I am of her breath and calm, steady heartbeat. Her uniform, torn in the back, exposes where she took direct hits from gunfire and a black worm seed infestation. The bleeding may have stopped hours ago, the wounds completely healed, but her skin still shows remnants of black worm's barbs and the rapid growing roots that tore into her flesh. The scars are reminiscent of the mountain ranges on those old, plastic topographical maps my students loved to touch. The remaining inflamed welts on Ophelia's back are slowly disappearing. It's a reminder that some scars don't fade so easily, like the haunting memory of her screams that lingers in my mind. It's tough to get black worm roots out once fully implanted. It's even harder to get them out of a finger of God. I reach her, giving her a hip bump as I stand by her side. Slowly, I scan the field, replete with dead bodies, burning vehicles, and debris. What draws my attention aren't the corpses and scorched earth, but the patches of vibrant green foliage, dotted with blue, red, and orange wildflowers. The growing patches of life punctuate the battlefield. The infinitely invasive Kinosian plants seem to grow anywhere and under any condition. Every Alliance territory taken by the Kinosians bears these beautiful green scars. This city, Steel Harbor, was at the heart of our nation's war machine, its occupants armed to the teeth with weapons of death. The harbor's citizens pushed aggressively for war early on, convinced that the primitive Kinosian forces would be no match for our advanced Alliance technology. Steel Harbor was taken within a few days. Now all that's left of the city's magnificent factories are a few towering smokestacks, blanketed in the gentle pastel colors of Kinosian occupation. "I want to be with Chad, Joss," Ophelia says, breaking my train of morose thoughts. She smiles, although tears stream down her face. I can smell her tears, even with the scent of death, thick and foul, wafting through the air. Her tears smell like the chemical cocktail she is forced to take daily, nothing like the distant sea, as they should. "You'll get to be with him soon, Oa. The war's drawing to a close, I'm sure of it." I turn into her intense gaze. Her lips move slightly as she silently addresses her fiancé. He's the only person she talks to outside of Patricia and me. The problem is, Chad died 4 years ago. "He's always saying how much he misses me," she says. "Does he now?" "Yeah." She grins sorrowfully, wiping away the tears. "He never likes it when we're separated. We used to talk all the time, back home, I mean. Now we only talk when I'm outside of stasis. It's just not enough time." A slow sigh escapes her lips. She's talking crazy again. "How about we enjoy the victory and not think too much about that?" She reaches down and plucks a blue and orange flower from the mid-calf high grass. "Victory? We won again, right?" she asks, twirling the flower between her fingertips. Unsure, I look out over the green-blanketed ruins. While I mourn the loss of the great city, I have to admit it was never this beautiful. The Kinosian plants bring color and life to the many shades of gray that previously dominated the cityscape. If only this war with Kinosa left the same imprint on our soldiers that it does upon our lands. I look at my friend muttering to herself. How haggard Ophelia's become over these past few years. How haggard we've all become. "Yeah, we won this battle, Ophelia," I say, nodding. "We've finally reached Kinosa's borders. We've gained the upper hand. How much loss can we take and still consider ourselves victorious?" "We have the upper hand," she repeats as if in a trance, nodding her head as well. "Joss," she says, dropping her eyes to the foliage at her feet. They only release me from stasis when it's time for fighting nowadays. The rest of the time, while in stasis, Joss, I dream of terrible things. Terrible things, Ophelia says, staring out over the city. You dream in there? I ask, looking behind us. Although I can't see it yet, I can hear the military truck carrying her stasis chamber approaching, hidden by the huge misshapen mounds of green-blanketed rubble that surround us. We still have some time before the truck reaches us, and before she completely breaks from reality. What do you dream about? I dream Chad died. It's a nightmare I have all the time in stasis, but I just don't know if I could live without him, Joss. I don't think I know how. She looks ahead blankly, her lips again moving in silence. Her hands start to flutter, punctuating the movement of her mouth. He is dead, Ophelia, is what I want to say. If you hear him, he's not dead, right? And you do hear him? Oh, yes, I do. So he's not dead, right? I smile. No, of course not, Oa. I move closer and take her hand. I gotta say, Steel Harbor looks so different now. It's kind of nice, actually, I say, changing the subject. She whispers something that I can't quite make out, before shaking her head and laughing. Oh my God, you are so right, Joss. I remember coming here as a kid and thinking it was so chaotic. Cars, zip buses, and mega trucks going everywhere, she says with a sigh. Just too much of everything. Really? I used to love it here. Probably because I usually spent the summer here with my dad. He moved to Steel Harbor after my parents divorced. He so loved the harbor. He loved being here, working here. He always smiled when he talked about this city, swelling with pride at the sight of its massive vehicles. They were his handiwork, he'd say, because they were made of his composite steel. She tilts her head down and towards her right shoulder, finally noticing the approaching truck. She doesn't turn to look. Joss, I really do want to be with Chad, she says, tightening her hand around mine. I don't want to wait. I don't want to spend another day with my nightmares. She pulls me towards her slightly, urging me to face her, but I keep my eyes locked to the ground. I know what she wants. Please, don't ask me to do what I think you're asking. Not again, Oa. She shrugs. I'm sorry, Joss. I know it's a lot to ask, and I know that the war is nearly over, but I just don't want to wait any longer. Just when it's my time, I want you to do it, okay? We've fought to reclaim Steel Harbor for nearly 36 hours straight. That's well past Ophelia's limit. There can't be much time left before she completely fractures. Sure, the conversations with her dead fiancé have been going on for a while, but now she's talking about me taking her life again. It's just a little bit further, Oa. We just have to run this race for a few more miles and it'll be over, I say, ignoring the request. Can you wait just a bit longer? Can you do that for me? She lifts her head to the sky, her eyes scanning the distant clouds beyond the smoke. Is she responding to the silent call of her imagination again, or trying to find the paradise she believes in? Yeah, I guess, is all she says, swiping clumped strands of dirty hair from her face. Looking at her, you'd never know that she was a cherry blonde under all of the muck. Her once shiny long locks now hang limp and dull, but what saddens me most is the dullness in her eyes, which once shone so bright. Ophelia began her steady mental decline 3 years ago, a full year after we emerged from our metal cocoons in the sacrifice chamber. The chamber was just a fancy name for a warehouse filled with stasis units, designed to deliver the gene therapy that turned us into fingers of God. The Alliance leadership loved to invoke images of God during their political and military campaigns. The truth is, we were created to be weapons, plain and simple. There was no God in that chamber, and there's no God here and now. I hear her mutter, but I'm not sure if she's talking to me or more phantasms. She giggles suddenly. You're a good friend, Joss, she says, lifting my hand and pressing her lips to the back of it. Her mood is starting to shift too fast to keep up. The final descent has begun. We don't have much time left. The truck hauling her prison is on us. Such is her punishment for unwavering patriotism. Oa, how about we just enjoy the new and improved Steel Harbor for a while, I say, plucking a flower from the earth and gently placing it behind her ear. It's not like we'll have this chance again anytime soon. I pull the shreds of her damaged uniform back over her shoulder. She lifts her head and nods. Sounds like a good idea. Private Rogers, please return to the stasis unit ASAP. We have orders to move you to a safe, stable environment before transport, a technician announces, his eyes fixed cautiously on Ophelia's bare back. His request is presented as an order. I find both his tone and attitude offensive. She's a hero, not some dog you can order into a cage. Ophelia tenses. Her lips begin moving quickly like a person trying to get the last few words into a phone conversation before it ends. I'm, just looking at the landscape. I want to look at the landscape for a bit longer, she mutters, her voice shaky. She needs more time. She deserves more time. Excuse me, I call to the approaching Tex. I'll watch over her for a few more minutes and see to it she enters the egg. Such an innocuous term we've developed for a physical and chemical prison. The ominous ovoid sits in the back of a flatbed, the bottom of its silver skin reflecting the painted black of the metal it rests on, while the top periodically shines bright with the blinding pure white of the sun. We have orders. We've just taken one of the last strongholds of the Kinosian army. We are taking a few minutes, I say, loud enough to inform them I'm not asking for permission. I can feel their stares and hear their heartbeats increase in tempo. I don't want them to feel threatened, but Ophelia wants more time. She's earned this patch of green. One of the techs, his face hidden behind a thin surgical mask, takes a cautious step in our direction. Listen, Martinez, I'm just trying to do— I didn't ask you, I'm telling you, we need a break. She needs a break. I feel her warm hand tighten around mine. We're just going to stand here a little longer and enjoy the silence. You can wait with us or in the truck, your choice. With a click, one of the techs presses the call button on the comm band wrapped around his neck. The jerk is probably going to report me to command. I hear the sounds of boots approach from beyond the parked truck. You ladies starting trouble again? I know that voice, and it brings a smile to my face. It's Patricia, Sergeant Patel to the other soldiers, and she waves the techs away. You two take a break. I've got these troublemakers, she says to the masked duo, lifting her ARC-27 rifle over her shoulder, its barrel pointing to the sky. She always sounds as though she's speaking in a loud, forced whisper, her voice gruff and strained. She never fully recovered from the acid seed attack, and she never will. It only took a few spores entering her throat to damage her voice permanently. She's not a finger of God like Ophelia and I, so completely recovering from the injury was not possible. It's a miracle she can even speak. It's a gift from God that she's alive. The rest of the seed attack burned the skin off of her left arm. Even after countless rapid grafts and drug treatments, her arm, while functional, looks mangled. The skin graft appears thin and fragile, barely thick enough to contain the rippling sinew and muscle beneath its surface. Unfazed, she wears her sleeves rolled up to the elbow, proudly bearing her scars like a badge of honor. They remind me and all who know her of just how strong she is. With a nod, the techs move back, but not too far. They decide to sit in the grass and wait. Good idea. So, what are you ladies up to? She says, leaning in to give me and Ophelia a peck on the cheek. Normally, my adopted sisters and I only show such affection in private, but today we're throwing formality to the wind. Ophelia turns, as if interrupted, to look at Patricia. Just, looking at the, landscape. She's now visibly struggling to stay present, to stay with us. Patricia gives me a sideways glance. Makes sense, she says. She faces the field littered with Kinosian plant life before taking a deep breath. Well, this is definitely the best Steel Harbor has ever looked. I laugh. Owa and I just finished saying that. Where are you coming from? Ophelia asks, her voice growing more hesitant. Laying her weapon and specialized ammo case close, Patricia drops into the grass and sits next to me. Gently, she pulls down on my forearm, urging me to join her. I do, squatting on the long, thin blades of grass that find their way between my legs. Ophelia grins and joins us. Since you asked, Oa, I just came from the command station, Patricia answers, and it looks like what remains of our teams on both coasts will be merging. So that means we are going to be shipped to the southwestern front, where we're probably going to start our final push. The Southies can't hold on without maintaining a huge stronghold near the mountains down there, she continues. So if we break the stronghold, we break them for good. The merge is unavoidable, even though I'd prefer we didn't have to go through with it. We've lost so many fogs there. I can't imagine running another campaign farther into Southie lands. But luckily, the majority of the Kinosians on this coast have fled or surrendered. Command does not need us to collect refugees that'll be shipped to the prison camps on the northwestern shore. I assumed something like this would happen. There aren't many more strongholds the Kinosians have to fall back on, I say. Ophelia shudders. But why merger? Can't they just let go? Let us go? Strange question, Ophelia. I doubt the government will allow any fog to go free, war or no war, although I pray I'm wrong. Glancing at Patricia, I see concern fill her face as her eyes slowly drift from Ophelia to me to the egg behind us, finally landing on the tense technicians who check their watches and hurry us up with their huffs and sighs. They're right to be concerned. It's becoming more and more obvious that Ophelia's time is up. Well, they can't let us go yet. The war isn't over, Oa. And in regards to the merger, we're really down to our last fogs. They need every heavy hitter they can get. Just think, Valentino's lost both his legs, which no one has been able to find. At this point, after so much time has passed, they're most likely no longer viable for reattachment anyway. He's done his duty and is probably on his way home as we speak. Phillips, you guys remember Phillips, right? Ophelia and I nod. Well, he's blind now. Both eyes gone. Patricia points at her eyes and swipes her hand away. Poor guy got into a one-on-one fight with a guardsman. By the time reinforcements arrived and that bitch was put down, she'd already gouged out both of his eyes and mangled his arm and leg pretty bad. The limbs will heal somewhat, but the eyes... She shakes her head. Even a fog can't recover completely lost body parts. To be forever blind, how terrible. I can't imagine what he's going through. My God. Then finally there's Son. Let's just say they finally agreed with us that he's not fit for duty anywhere ever. Patricia leaves one thing out that she and I are well aware of. Many other fogs, friend of ours, have completely lost their minds. Even after months in stasis, their brain chemistry is now permanently off-kilter. Ophelia is extremely lucky to have held on as long as she has. How will they address these lost souls once this war is ended? How will they address Son's crimes? Will he even stand trial? Should he even be allowed to be in a courtroom considering what he's capable of? For the rest, the brass can't simply turn them over to their parents or partners, releasing them back into normal society. Just one powerful fog can level a city. Pulling a blade of grass from between her legs, Patricia shrugs. Damn, we've lost so many fogs. Too many. I even heard about some officials at the Capitol openly talking about doing a third sacrifice. How crazy is that? What? No more people. Time out. They need a time out. Ophelia snaps. Her face twists in disgust and rage. Whoa, calm down, Oa. They're just talking. I am calm, she explodes, standing and frantically looking to and fro. They've already taken an entire generation. It's enough. 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 Her hands shake violently, knuckles turning stark white against the pressure of tight fists. She's going to be uncontrollable soon if we don't get her into stasis. Did I wait too long? The techs behind us rise quickly, giving me a harsh glare as they stab at buttons on their wrist pads, setting up the egg for its occupant. I better calm her down before this gets ugly. You're right, Ophelia, I say, placing my hands, palms up in front of myself. I'm sure they won't do such a thing again. Slowly, I lower them, trying to relax her. For a tense moment, I'm not sure if she'll attack me. Then, as suddenly as her explosion began, it recedes. Like a snake following the sway of a charmer's pipe, she becomes peaceful again, lowering her head as I drop my hands. She looks down at the tall grass as my palms touch my thighs, and a slow smile slides across her lips. Without another word, Her silent chatter with her ghosts begins anew. "Are those stasis pods comfortable? I bet they are," Patricia says, her head turned towards the techs and the shiny silver container a few yards behind us. "I'm going to try yours." Rising to her feet, Patricia dashes over to the container, smiling and glancing playfully back at Ophelia. That won't be comfortable for you, Pat. It's mine. That one's made not for anyone else," Ophelia calls to the fleeing, laughing Patricia. "Well, if you don't want to get in, I will. I'm getting tired of staring at all that boring grass," she calls back, turning her nose up. Ophelia takes the bait and stands up, swaying from side to side. Her thin lips move faster and faster as she sputters. "Don't let her claim mine. It's mine. Stop playing, Pat. No, you don't. Go." Patricia hops up onto the flatbed in a smooth leap. For a normal person, she's incredibly fit. "You may want to get in there before she screws up your settings. Remember what happened last time she messed with your stasis pod?" I add, knowing Patricia did nothing of the sort. Before Patricia's outstretched hand can touch the egg, Ophelia appears in front of her with a rush of wind that whips Patricia's short, cropped hair and ruffles the long white coats of the nearby techs. "Aw, come on, Oa. Let me try it," Pat whines facetiously. Her voice would sound more childlike if it wasn't so scratchy and gruff. No, it has to be set right for me. Get it? My pod, I can't just let anyone—" "Oh, all right," Patricia says, gently grasping Ophelia's hand, guiding her into the pod as it opens with a hiss of white smoke. A smile, broken and awkward, is etched over Ophelia's face. This scene has played itself out in one capacity or another dozens of times before. With Ophelia's cognitive ability fading fast, Patricia coerces her into that prison, where she will stay until the Alliance needs to use her again, to kill. The scene is humorous, but in the end, it breaks my heart to see her this way. Like so many other fog soldiers who have this sickness, she has to be placed in the stasis chamber often. Once she's secured, 2 steady streams of drugs are pumped into her body. The first slows down her metabolism enough for the second drug, an antipsychotic, to take hold. A wave of loneliness washes over my heart as the techs get to work, closing the egg around her, around my friend, my sister. She is my fraternal twin, like hundreds of others that survived the sacrifice. We were all born at the same time in a cold, smoky government building, as thousands of others, going through the same procedure, died all around us. Those that perished were unable to integrate the virus that carried the fog genetic coding into their own DNA and slipped silently into an eternal sleep. As much as I love Patricia, she'll never understand what Ophelia and I have gone and still go through. We are weapons, living, reusable bombs. I can't imagine that our government would easily relinquish its hold on us, despite its promise of restitution and freedom for all fogs. Ultimately, I may have to take, not ask for my freedom when this is all over. Slowly, Patricia releases Ophelia's hand as the curved lid of the stasis pod draws down. She blows her a kiss as the egg hisses shut, then turns and walks to the edge of the flatbed. Immediately, the techs punch codes into a hidden keypad at the rear of the white metal structure to start the stasis process. "How long was she talking to Chad this time?" Patricia asks, dropping down and walking towards me. "Only 7 hours this time," I reply, my eyes still locked on the pod behind her. The techs buzz about like giant white mosquitoes, each holding a proboscis that will deliver cryogenic chemicals. They're stealing her life away, moment by moment. "At least she's not getting worse, that's a plus." Pat looks out over the horizon, over the vast patches of green ground behind me, and frowns. I look in the opposite direction. What could I have done to help Ophelia? "Are you there, Jocelyn?" "Huh? Oh, yeah. I'm here, Pat, just thinking again. You know me," I say, feeling the need to push up a smile. Returning to her already flattened space in the grass, she sighs. "Exactly. You need to stop thinking sometimes and just be happy Oa is still here with us. And most of all, be happy you're not losing it with her." "Should she be? With us, I mean?" "What the hell does that mean?" she says, eyeing me with suspicion. I sigh. "She did it again. She asked me to help her. Help her take her own life, Pat. I swear it's like she knows she'll never be free of this madness. I tug at a large clump of grass beneath me. So is this the plan our government has for her? To run her into the ground, push her to death like a workhorse? Come on, Joss. You can't let her psychosis get to you. She doesn't really know what she's saying. You know that. After she's been in the egg for a while, she'll be right back to her normal self. So come on, don't take that shit in. As the truck rumbles to life, its cargo strapped down and safely locked away, I only question if Ophelia's plea was not wisdom wearing a mask of madness. I know I wouldn't want to spend my life in stasis, waiting for the next target or my own death, would you? Looking down at her withered hand, Pat grimaces. I know I'd rather be alive and have the chance to change my path than to have it end on a single sad note. Patricia stands, reaches around Ophelia's egg, and slams her hand down on the metal roof of the truck's cab. Hey, watch the damn potholes! Patricia's attempt at a yell comes out as a deep, loud growl. In a huff, she falls into her seat, her brow furrowed. You know, I think they may be doing that on purpose, she says sarcastically. I can hear their giggling under the engine's roar. They've lightened up considerably since securing Ophelia in her egg, and have been taking great pleasure in tormenting Patricia and me by aggressively driving over every pothole that litters the 6-lane highway beneath us. On either side of the highway, once ornate buildings stand desolate, their long driveways now cracked by Kinosian weeds. The occupants that used to inhabit these expensive residences have long been evacuated. But life has not ceased here, despite current appearances. I can hear movement everywhere. Birds flutter around, busy searching for sustenance to feed their squawking young, who cry in hidden nests. Small animals skitter about along the broken sidewalks and rubble, which are partially covered in thick green moss. It's as if the city itself waged a war against the natural world, and lost badly. Another bump and rough landing. Out of reflex, I steady the egg. I hope it's providing Ophelia with a comfortable, silent rest. We're almost there, Patricia croaks, peeking over the truck's cabin and towards the bleak Northern Alliance base in the distance. Like a line drawn in the sand, there's a hard edge where the city forest stops and the gray dirt of the base begins. There is a dead zone around the camp, a mile long in all directions. The destruction was made possible by RX, one of our most valuable weapons and our only defense against Kinosa's invasive plant life. I find it hard to celebrate returning to base like I used to. Now, with so many of my fog comrades dead, it is merely a place to store my things, eat an actual meal, and sleep just enough to feel human again. Ophelia won't even get these minor comforts. She'll be stored in cryosleep. While she's under, the techs will monitor and test her blood and vitals in an attempt to discover a way to stabilize her and all of the other fogs who are slowly deteriorating. She'll likely be subjected to an endless litany of drug therapies for the remainder of her life. Sometimes it feels as if she's become nothing more than a guinea pig for drug manufacturers. At least the fogs who are conscious can resist, but those that lie locked in that chemical prison, within a silvery physical one, they are utterly powerless. It's strange to describe us fogs, cursed with great physical strength and accelerated healing, as powerless, but none of us can guard against the insidious nature of a disease that slowly strips us of our sanity. It's undetectable at first, but like a slow drip from a cracked vase, reason begins to slip away from the afflicted over time. Eventually, the sufferer starts to experience visual and auditory hallucinations, paranoia, obsessive-compulsive behavior, and sometimes homicidal and suicidal tendencies. Sadly, this is the fate of all fogs. How long before it happens to me? How long before I ask Patricia to grant me the gift of final escape, the pleasure of final freedom? No, I won't burden her with that task. I'll kill myself first. We enter the grounds, rolling past tall chain-link fences topped with barbed wire, a useless deterrent against our Kinosian foes. We move at the pace of a slow crawl, greeting returning comrades in platoons that are a fraction of their former sizes. Thousands of us left, and a few hundred return. The battered but unbroken survivors salute each other, hands raised, hands dropped to brow, hands over hearts, faces awash with a mixture of pride, relief, and sadness. Cheers, jeers, and laughter echo throughout the thin green tents that line the area as the conquering heroes of the Alliance return. The smell of alcohol, beer, and sweet burning meat permeates the air. Everyone's busy celebrating our biggest win. Yes, this is worth celebrating. We survived. Martinez, glad you're back, I hear from the undulating wave of humanity as the truck jostles to an abrupt stop behind another vehicle with 2 eggs strapped in. Patricia chuckles. Your groupie is here to greet you, Joss, she sighs. I see Clarence's dark brown arm raised high over the oncoming traffic. He quickly makes his way to us as we drop off of the truck and a wave of white-clad techs swarm around us. They're here for the eggs and completely ignore our passing. The healthy are of no interest to them. Over here, Martinez. Clarence beckons again. I look at him in his stark white tank top. The war has devoured years off of his young life, it seems. FYI, they're gonna have a huge party tonight to celebrate our victory, and I gotta get that first dance with you. I'm just not up for his advances right now. I'm here too, you know, Patricia injects as he reaches us. Ah, of course I see you, Sergeant Patel. Glad you're back, he says, offering a smile. Patricia turns to me, rolling her eyes. Joss, I'm going to get cleaned up. See you back at the barracks. Okay, Pat. With her rifle dangling on her shoulder and ammo rattling gently in its container, she hurries off. Aren't we supposed to be heading to the Western Front soon? I ask Patricia too late. She's already a good distance away. She can't hear me over the din. You in a hurry to get back to the fight? Geez, be happy they're giving us a day to rest and celebrate the retaking of Steel Harbor. I nod, smile half-heartedly, and begin planning my escape. So, he says, swaying his hips seductively, you are going to the party, right? Those bedroom eyes have wooed more than a few fog ladies during our time at this base, but I'm just too old for his nonsense. I shake my head, let out a weary sigh, and start my walk back to the barracks. I need to get out of this noise, away from the swirling dust and ocean of people. He follows, of course. I'm not sure if I'm up to it, Clarence. I just got back. I'm dirty, I'm tired, and I'm in dire need of a shower and some rest. Come on, Joss. When are you going to let me get some of that, huh? Excuse me. I turn abruptly to face him. How'd we go from talking about the party to you asking that stupid question? He shrugs. Who else are you going to get with if not me? All of the other fogs are basket cases. What the hell? Has he lost his mind? Who the hell does he think he's talking to like that? How many ways do I have to tell you I'm not interested? Am I not making myself clear? I'm not interested. Yes, there is a way to get me to leave you alone. That word is yes. Or even better, yes, you can have me, young man. I've been keeping it at the ready for you all this time, you big, strong buck, you. I turn away and continue my walk to the barracks. No, Clarence, same answer as before. No. Guess what? It'll be the same answer in the future. No. And the more you push, the more you'll push me away. Oh, come on. You'll enjoy. Goodbye, Clarence. So, are you at least coming to the part? Goodbye, Clarence. I repeat more forcefully, picking up my pace. Asshole. I'm breaking down, Joss. With those 4 words, my defenses shatter. The words are spoken in a near whisper, but they hit me like a blow. Suddenly it feels as if thousands of pounds of grief are pressing down on me. I turn to meet his eyes. He's serious. I can tell by the steady pace of his heart, the smell of fear emanating from his glands, and the glistening tears welling in his large hazel eyes. Every time I look at myself, all I see is filth. I'm so dirty, he says, his voice straining. I can't seem to get clean. His eyes drift down to the back of his outstretched hands. He sees something there I don't. Are you serious? I ask, already knowing the answer. He's given me all of the information I need by letting his guard down. allowing me to use my enhanced senses to monitor his vitals. How long have you known? He closes his hands tight. For months now. Medics confirmed it after we took over Twin Lakes. I didn't believe it at first. Couldn't imagine that it had happened to me, He's smiling, but his lips are tight and straining against the weight of his confession. How long before his inevitable crash? Months, if he's lucky. But at this point, it's a given that he will go mad sooner rather than later. It's only a question of when and how much of a danger he'll become. Most don't pass into madness easily. In a burst of speed, I'm in front of him, just inches away. The throng of techs nearby nearly jump out of their skins at the sight of my outburst. His forced smile doesn't change as I glare at him. Are you fucking with me? I whisper, leaning in close to his ear, my eyes passing over his full lips, his cheekbones, the width of his nose and the edges of his long, wet eyelashes. No, I'm not fucking with you, Joss. I'm just being straight up, he answers, looking down past me and into the dry, dusty earth. Pulling back, I stare into his face. He's so young. He, like so many soldiers, was recruited in high school. He can't be more than 21 years old now. His eyes shift, and suddenly he looks down at me. His beautiful eyes beg for something more. Then I understand in an instant. It isn't sex he seeks, despite what he himself may believe. It's a sense of closeness, a feeling of connection to another person. He doesn't want to face this, any of it, alone. Damn it. I'm so sorry, Clarence, I say, tossing my arms around him, hugging him close. For the first time, I'm actually considering spending the night with him. He returns the hug, his chin resting on my shoulder. Clarence, are you grabbing my ass? I feel his huge frame take in a long breath. Yeah, it's nice. I can't help but laugh. I place my fingers in the hollow of his cheeks, squeeze and kiss him there. The answer is still no, I say with a light, playful slap to his face. If he asks me to bed again, I swear I'm going to sock him in the mouth. I know, but at least I'll have the fond memory of a handful of your butt cheek to enjoy while I'm stuck in stasis sleep. You are a fool. We laugh together as the busy, bustling crowd sweeps past us and into their future. A future that won't be secured and enriched by young, talented men like Clarence. We've failed him. We've failed all of the young people who have died or been broken by this terrible conflict. And in failing them, we've failed ourselves. This room feels strange to me with its buzzing lights, electronic devices, and rows of eggs. I remember waking up in a room similar to this one, facing white-masked techs prodding me endlessly. The moment I was able to lift myself up from the interior of my stasis chamber, I was greeted by the sight of thousands working away, checking newborn fogs and disposing of the stillborn. Despite the vast number of dead, the room felt alive with buzzing machinery, whispered voices, and the weary complaints of patients popping up from their eggs. Each of us strained to look down the rows, checking to see who survived. We each probably breathed a sigh of relief that we were one of the lucky ones that made it. But today, there is only eerie silence in this holding area. Rows and rows of bodies encased in silver stasis chambers lie side by side on the gray rubber flooring. Above each egg, a monitor pings the vitals of its prisoner, glowing bright in the dim lights. I step towards Ophelia's stasis pod and look into the small, double-paned, super-dense square of glass within the silver casing. It's frosted with an opaque white haze, and I can barely see her, although I can faintly see my own reflection. God, I look terrible. She seems peaceful, though, resting in her death-like sleep. That's good. Strands of her hair that once shone bright now lie dull and weathered across her sleeping face. I lean on the egg and touch the glass, desiring nothing more than to whisk the hair from her eyes. How desperately I want to fix this mess for her. But some messes, some decisions can't be undone, only managed. Why did we choose this? I love my country. My presence here and now is proof of that love, but God help me, I'd never make this choice again. Oa, I say, fogging the thick glass with my breath. Soon we'll be headed to the Western Front. I think we're even going to fly there, and not in helio rovers either, but in actual planes. They say the anti-aircraft spores the Kenosians released have mostly faded from Alliance territories. Great thing, because it'll take us half the time to get there by plane. I keep expecting her to open her eyes. They're having a party tonight, I say with a rap on her window. Supposedly it's to thank us for retaking the harbor and securing the eastern half of the country, but how can they thank us with you and the others cooped up in here? I feel an uncomfortable stirring in my midsection as tears threaten to fall. Look at her. She's only 22, just a baby. She was such a beautiful girl. When I first saw her, I felt a twinge of jealousy. Everything was perfect on her, nothing sagged or jiggled. Flawless, she turned to me, smiling, asking about my necklace. It was my most cherished possession, given to me by my students. I lost that thing on a battlefield. I can't even remember which one now. It was a valuable reminder of my old life as a teacher. Now it's just something else I lost on one of many battlefields. Oh, do you remember when we first met? I ask, chuckling to the glass between us. Oh, God, I found you so annoying. So perky and outgoing, and you had no filter whatsoever. You know, I actually wanted to smack you when you dared to invade my space and touch my necklace. Do you remember that necklace? I ask. No response, of course, but in my mind's eye, her playful expression brightens the room. I wipe the fog of my breath from the glass and stand straight, eyeing the flickering light of the screen above her prison. Now that I know you, I can see you did it because you were nervous. I return my eyes to the receding condensation. We both were. It's just, I didn't want to talk, certainly not with someone so sickeningly cute. The egg beeps in response. I still laugh when I think about the inoculation incident. It was finally your turn, and the long steel pole came down and injected you. That's when we first met Patricia, I laugh. You jumped and let out that weird high-pitched yelp that frightened everyone in line behind us. I do remember that, I hear from behind me. It's Patricia. I'd know her voice anywhere. I'm surprised I didn't sense her entrance. The room must be shielded. Must save Tex the trouble of calming the revived fog soldiers when they wake them. What are you doing in here, Joss? Patricia asks, as if she doesn't know. Keeping Oa company, of course, I say, turning to face her. The sight of Patricia stops my thoughts in their tracks. She looks gorgeous. Oh my God, Pat, look at you. Her lopsided smirk quickly becomes a full smile. What? I told you I was going to the party. I know that, but I didn't expect to see this, I say, waving my hand up and down in her direction. She grins widely, brushing her hands down her dress. It's nice, right? I got it made weeks ago, had it shipped to the camp. I promised myself I'd wear it if we ever won back Steel Harbor. No, sweetie, it's not just the dress. It's the woman wearing it. You are rocking that dress, girl, I exclaim. The dress hugs her petite yet muscular frame like a second skin. The deep crimson gown covers one arm, her burned side, hiding the horrible scar. The thin, flexible fabric rises up and around her neck, wrapping into a collar. But on the other side, the red disappears and exposes her bare, flawless, caramel-toned back and shoulder. On her uncovered wrist, she wears a thick golden bangle dotted with the same crimson of the gown. It's the perfect complement to this stunning outfit. For a moment, I feel a twinge of jealousy. She's so beautiful. The woman now standing bashfully before me. This is hardly what I would expect from the hardened Sergeant Patel. This is the same person who stared down 5 Kenosian guardsmen, fighting ferociously even though her body was burning. After receiving treatment for the burns, the very next day she led 8 fog soldiers, including Ophelia and myself, into combat. She led us to victory. Rockin' it, really? Her hand flutters over her collarbone. You think so? It's not too much, is it? Pfft, please, I say, waving away her concerns. You've got to model it for me, Pat. I twirl my finger, encouraging her to relax her arms and show off her beauty. Model it? What are you talking about? Her scratchy voice asks innocently. Oh, stop it. I know you know what I'm talking about, I tease, raising my hands to my face as if I'm holding a small camera. Let me see your best catwalk stroll. Despite the eye roll, she complies. Walking up and down the room lined with eggs, she moves like a child unsure of herself in a new Easter Sunday dress. Oh, come on, you've got to do better than that, girl. Show me how you plan to get a man-slave to peel that off of you. Oh, please. I'll be lucky to get a dance tonight. Most of those clowns are too scared to even talk to me. Are you insane? Did you get hit in the head with shrapnel or something? Girl, you look incredible. They're going to be falling over themselves to get next to you. Now show me how you work it. For a moment, we forget we are soldiers. The deafening noise from these air carriers always gives me a headache. Well, not really, although I continue the charade by rubbing my temples. How strange my behavior has become over the last few years. Even now, after so much time has passed, I continue to act as if I am experiencing discomfort, even though I am completely immune to normal human afflictions like colds and headaches. It's like a phantom limb, a vestige of my human frailty before the transformation. I wonder, is it the phantom remembrance of my lost humanity? As the air carrier lifts off, rising up from the compact earth beneath my feet, I look around our new base of operations. It's huge. This is by far the largest base I've ever seen, larger than the Midwest base by a factor of 3 at least. Many trucks and jeeps move out, tossing up the RX-contaminated dust used to keep the Kinosian plant life at bay. The trucks spew gray exhaust into the air, giving it an iridescent hazy brown appearance as it reflects the sunlight. Strips of mud and dirt run down the tent walls. It reminds me of this morning's shower and how much I enjoyed removing the grime from my skin. There's no escaping the filth. Dust covers everything at every base I've ever been to. The West Coast base rests close to the Northern Alliance's shoreline that borders the largest body of water on the planet, the Pantonic Ocean. It is, or was, the oldest and most contested base in this war. Even after its brief occupations, it still stands as a testament to Alliance determination. We took great pains to ensure it stayed in our hands, even if that meant poisoning the ground and rendering it useless for agriculture for centuries to come. I look westward and catch the scent of the sea. It's surprising to me how clean it smells considering the city of Bordeaux, the major industrial giant, second only to Steel Harbor, is located there. That city was only recently recaptured by us after years of Kinosian control. I'm positive this clean scent is a result of the enemy's prior ownership. Bordeaux. That place really takes me back. My mom used to take me to the beach and boardwalk there. It was fun just being there with her, even though we dared not go into the polluted waters. As much as I want to end Kinosian opposition, I often find myself impressed with their treatment of the Earth. The Alliance's treatment of our own ecology leaves much to be desired. "Joss, this way," Patricia says, her voice nearly drowned out by the sounds of human and machine chatter. I follow her lead, and we head to the airstrip's border. She really should be a higher rank than she is. Patricia's the only non-FOG sergeant who's been able to coordinate, recognize, and utilize FOG soldiers effectively in the field. She understands and recognizes our needs and capabilities so well. The fact that she hasn't been promoted is a dark stain on the military. "Can you smell the ocean air?" I ask, spreading my arm into hers as we wade into the flowing sea of people. Looking around, she sniffs the air. "All I smell is funky-ass soldiers." I laugh. "Generally, that smells better than the ocean." "That depends on which ocean you're talking about," she chuckles. "True, but this is Bordeaux we're talking about, so it's kind of surprising to me that it actually smells clean, crisp." "Saudis do have a way of keeping their side of the border clean. We could learn something from them if we weren't trying to kill each other." "Jocelyn Martinez?" a voice calls to me. I stop, turn, and find myself pleasantly surprised to see a handsome young man. Holding up his hand in my direction, he waves. He's a FOG. I spot the bright red star on his sleeve. It's the one thing that identifies us from the others. His jet black uniform struggles to hide the bulge of muscles. His sandy brown hair is cut short and spiky, reminding me of just how well cared for we Foggs are, despite being overworked. Yet, it's the long scar that streaks down his face, stopping abruptly at his chin, that reminds me of why we get this treatment. He's a gunnery sergeant. He looks young for that rank. Very young. "I am she," I respond, snapping to attention with a quick salute. "Hello," he replies in kind. "I'm Gunnery Sergeant Jacob Powell," he says, nodding as he looks me up and down. "At ease, Martinez. Fog soldiers under my command aren't held to the same rigid structure as non-fogs, one of the perks we've earned." He glances over to Patricia, giving her the same once-over, and smiles. "Sergeant Patel?" he asks. "Patel, yes, sir," she replies, stepping forward with a hard but muted stamp of her boot. "As with Martinez, at ease, Patel. You may not be a fog, but your reputation for strength and leadership precedes you. Although it's not customary for my people to be led by a norm, if there's one tough enough to do it, it's you," he says with a grin and nod. Cute he may be, but there's a deadness to his eyes, an emptiness that appears to linger like an icy breeze. But that's something we all share, I guess. Maybe it's just because I don't know him well enough yet to draw a proper bead on him. "Thank you, sir," Patricia says. "Can I make a request?" For a moment he stares at her, his eyes squinting, his brow furrowing for a second or two before relaxing again. "Is this about Miss Rogers?" "Ophelia, yes," she answers. "You don't need to worry about her. We have an excellent medical area for those suffering," he says, understanding in his voice. "We have the best recovery center for fogs here, not to mention a fully staffed research lab nearby." He points towards a distant, tall white tent. "This camp is the main staging point for the entire western coast, so we're given the best. I'm sure it's an improvement over the Midwestern camp you ladies came in from." "Staging area? I assumed we were at the actual front," Patricia questions. "No, Patricia. May I call you Patricia?" She gives a sideways nod. Sure." Only the three of us call one another by our first names. Powell calling her Patricia feels intrusive. "We're currently miles away from the actual front. Some norms, no offense, and a fog are currently at the forward camp. They're holding the area, keeping an Alliance presence there and making sure the auto mortars and launching turrets remain active. They're not to actually attack, only defend, to make sure the site doesn't fall back into Southie hands." "Why is the front so far away?" I ask. "Far away for whom? Honestly, it wouldn't take us fogs very long to reach the front." His eyes slide towards Patricia. "But I'd be happy to carry you there, if you like." Her eyes go wide, as do my own. Immediately he laughs. "Don't worry, Patricia. We have other norms that are carried into battle with us sometimes. You won't be the first." "Don't listen to Gunny outside of official business, ladies. He's just trying to get a rise out of you." Another voice calls from a few yards behind Sergeant Powell. In an instant, he's by Powell's side, a smile on his lips as he nods to me. "I'm Santos, David Santos." "Santos, don't spoil my fun," Powell says. He points his thumb in Patricia's direction. "I had Patel here speechless," the sergeant says, pushing Santos with an elbow. "You ladies are a part of the new mergers going on, I assume," Santos says, his dark eyes fixed on my own. If I didn't see his rank of sergeant, I'd think he was in charge. Santos is older, around my age. Cute. His rugged face speaks to his maturity. It's filled with a confidence only a self-assured man can contain. For a fog soldier, he doesn't appear as damaged as so many others. "Your assumption would be correct, Santos," I respond. "I gave my name, but I didn't catch yours." "Martinez." I nod. He nods in response. "Good afternoon, Martinez." There's a moment of silence as we stand amidst the cacophony of war preparation, looking at one another. "Patel," Patricia says, her hand reaching for Santos's, breaking the not-so-awkward silence. He enthusiastically takes it. "Nice to meet you, Patel. Welcome to the Western Front." "For a fog, you look unscathed. Are you a tech or something?" Patricia asks, her eyes passing between Santos and Powell. "A tech? Me?" Santos asks. "Yes, you." Her voice, humorless, scratches out. Stepping forward, Powell leans in and gets closer to Patricia. David here went in for the second wave, so he had the pleasure of missing most of the first year. A distant explosion to the south draws all of our attention. The sound is loud enough for even Patricia to hear, and the flash close enough to cause concern. Maybe it's a sun mine going off? That wouldn't account for the sound, though. Kenosian sun mines are nearly silent. David's face tightens. The explosion came from a nearby town, but why are they attacking there? Are they attacking our base? Patricia asks. The base would be beyond that point, so no. Bottom line, they know we are coming. Not to worry, though. That base is a massive tree home. It'll hold up. Do they have range on us here? I ask. Too far. Reports say they're mostly using tangle vines and spike tails anyway, all of which are relatively short-ranged, David replies. They've been trying to recover some ground, and at times it's gone back and forth between us and them. I believe we launched RX attacks a few days ago, wiping the slate clean of all plant life. It didn't last long. It's a lot harder that far south. The ground there is too fertile, or so our intel advises, Jacob says, grinning towards Patricia. Speaking of attacks, how did you survive an acid seed attack and retain your good looks? You survived an acid attack? Wow, Santos says, looking at Patricia's hand and forearm. I assumed the scars were from a sun mine. Most folks don't. Well, it's tough for Norms to survive acid seed. The seed of the spore's growth, the damage, that's a lot for a body to handle. Patricia touches my arm. I had help, she says. It only hit my fingers, but Martinez here ran me to the medic station some 5 miles away. Got me there just in time to neutralize the fungus before it spread over my entire body. Wow, that's pretty fast, Jacob says, his lips jutting out as he nods. It'll be good to have a ranger as fast as you on the team. You didn't get burned, Martinez? David asks. Oh, no, I did. As soon as I touched her, the spores jumped to me. Burned like hell, but luckily it wasn't long enough to leave a scar. There just happened to be some quick-acting medics around when I got to the station. I wish I had paid more attention, I say, glancing at Patricia. I almost lost you. A knowing look, seemingly carried by the breeze, brushes across Santos's and Powell's faces. They understand. They both know the sinking feeling of loss. I can tear a car to pieces with my bare hands, yet do absolutely nothing to restart a bullet-ridden heart. You can't take that in, Martinez, Santos says, his eyes sorrowful. He's right, Joss. You can't save everyone, but I am happy you saved my ass. Patricia chuckles. I'm happy I did as well. My sister. With the addition of the Midwest and East forces, Norm and Fogg alike will have the manpower needed to break the Southie's last stronghold south of our position, Jacob says to the large contingent of Fogg soldiers under his command. Many are scarred as badly as or worse than Patricia. Only a few Norms are in the audience. Why they would call the non-Fogg soldiers Norms is beyond me. Wouldn't that imply that we, the fingers of God, are not normal? Well, that wouldn't be far from the truth. How are you feeling, Oa? Patricia whispers. Fine. Just a tiny headache is all. Is it bad? I ask. Oh, no, it's not bad. Just different this time around. Kinda weird. Whatever they gave me makes me feel more aware, sharper. It's like there's too much stuff going on around me. I feel the pressure right behind my eyes, especially when I look into the lights. Anyway, it's not a big deal. Nothing I can't handle, she says with a grin. I actually heard through the grapevine that they've added a new drug to assist the stasis recovery. Maybe that's the cause of the headaches. Like children caught talking in class, we freeze and look up to see Jacob half smiling at Patricia. Of course he can hear us despite our whispering. He's a fog. Patricia stiffens in her seat immediately. I'm sorry. Don't, it's fine. But you do bring up something we need to touch on. So I guess I should be thanking you, Sergeant Patel, he says with a nod. As Patel's grapevine aptly stated, those of you that arrived in stasis were given an additive in the air mix. It's a newly developed drug meant to target the brain pathways specific to your condition. The drug should aid in your ability to maintain fighting capability for a much longer time period. The eggheads claim this new serum will enable you to remain outside of stasis for more than 2 weeks at the very least. My eyes drift to Clarence. Seated in the distance behind us, he nods appreciatively at Jacob. Many here do. Look, I know it's hard to believe sometimes, but I'm doing all I can to look after everyone. I'm just as concerned for your well-being as I am my own, because it could be me right next to any of you in a month. His eyes widen with carefully crafted concern. Something about him is definitely off, and I don't trust him because of it. Everything he says seems scripted. Now, if Santos can come up and address you all in regards to the discussion he had with the Special Fog Medic Team. He extends his hand to David, who's seated in the front row. For a moment, he doesn't rise. From my seat, 3 rows back, I hear him exhale softly. Santos gives Powell a look. Annoyance, reluctance, I can't tell which, maybe both. I'm not a medic or trained in anything even remotely related to medicine. I'm just a concerned soldier interested in the safety of my troopmates, Jefferson and Rawlings. Santos looks out into the crowd, his brown eyes searching the inside of the tent. They settle, and he nods, allowing a faint smile to cross his lips. We've all suffered the loss of a teammate, and not always from combat. The last 5 medications they've tried on them, let's just say they haven't had the best results. So I began questioning the med staff. As always, they gave me the runaround. We all chuckle along with him, having experienced the same nonsense. But they did say that the new therapy has been tested thoroughly, and they're really confident about its efficacy. So confident, in fact, that they're turning it into tablet form. With it, many of you won't have to be concerned about going into stasis any longer. Cheers erupt. Powell steps forward and places his hand on Santos's shoulder. Okay, calm down, everyone. There's no guarantee, so keep your eyes open for problems and report them immediately. But still, I'm making sure that everyone who wants the tablets will have them as soon as the recon team returns. I want these things in our hands before we get anywhere near the front. Recon team? A lone voice says, speaking our collective thought. Looking in the direction of the voice, Powell nods. Yes, I'm arranging for a few of our numbers to scout ahead, check on the front base if possible, gather intel, and return so we can start planning our push into Saudi territory. Powell smiles like a politician. If it were not for the scar, he would look like a fresh-faced civilian youth. The scout team will consist of Santos, Martinez, Jackson, Marshall, and Peterson. And on that note, I'm going to need you soldiers to stick around for additional briefing. After just bringing Patricia, Ophelia, and I together under the same unit, he's now splitting us up? Anyway, once we hear back from the scout team, we'll move out. So get some R&R while you can. We've all received additional pay this week, and for those that don't know, there's a big town north of here, so enjoy spending your well-earned credits. Dismissed. With a quick cheer in unison, the gathering rises and quickly disappears through the flaps of green canvas at either end of the tent. I guess we'll check you later, Joss, Patricia says as she and Ophelia wave to me before making their way out of the tent. I look up to see who's left behind. Wait, he's sticking me in a team of all men? No, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Not after what happened in Barrington. I will never team up with a group of men again.